Welcome to Maker Chats. My name is Oliver Berry and I'll be your host. The making community is growing rapidly and I want to spread the word. So every Thursday I'll be chatting with an interesting maker and innovator. Be sure to join us on YouTube, Facebook and Spotify. If you'd like to be part of the conversation, then join the Maker Chats Facebook group. I really look forward to bringing you interesting and innovative content from makers of all ages. If you'd like to get the show sent straight to your inbox, subscribe with the link in the description below. If you are a maker and you want to chat with us, don't hesitate. I'd love to hear about your project or your business and interview you. Contact us on the link in the description. Now let's get on with today's chat. Welcome to Maker Chats, everybody. As promised, it's Thursday, and I've got a maker from Cape Town named Felix Holm with me. Felix, do you want to introduce yourself?
How's it? Yes, my name is Felix Holm. I'm a maker of sort of many disciplines, a bit of a jack of all trades. I co-founded the Maker Station and Makerspace in Cape Town with my brother about 6 years ago. And yeah, it's sort of been a lifelong burden, making and tinkering.
Burden or a passion? Passion.
Yeah, if you ask my wife, it's a burden. If you ask me, it's a passion. Yeah.
Oh, great. Man.
Yeah. So yeah, we've got a couple of hundred members on our group that sort of come and go through this space.
Okay.
And yeah, there's quite a few other spaces in the country as well. Yeah.
Okay. You're one of the founding spaces in South Africa.
Yeah, I think there were probably one or two that preceded us,
Okay.
but most of the maker spaces sort of started about 6-7 years ago.
All right.
Some have come and gone in the meantime, but there's I think probably about 6 proper like maker spaces, and then there's quite a lot of hacker groups and so forth, hacker spaces. There's quite a variety of styles and shapes and sizes and ways of running these little collectives.
Well, yeah, with different people and different equipment and all sorts of things, I'd guess, eh?
Yeah, and different communities and stuff like that. All they're very, very tailored to their audience.
Okay. So for everybody who doesn't actually know what a maker is, how would you define the term maker, and what do you define a maker?
Well, it's and my books is pretty much anybody that makes anything.
Okay.
The sort of it's a very general term. It sort of comes out of the States, pretty much out of the maker movement, where they've sort of started creating a bit of a brand around maker spaces, and then coined the phrase makers. But it's pretty much any artisans, craftsmen. Anybody that works or makes things, either by machine or by hand, normally sort of refers to sort of small scale, not like big factories or stuff like it, but like sort of more like generally sort of small scale manufacturing or
the man in his garage
or making. Yeah, that sort of vibe is sort of, I think, that.
Yeah, the Oku's got the Oku
gets
the idea and uses the machines to use it and just produce it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And how did you get involved with it?
There's quite a lot of people that make a living making. Yeah.
Yes, well, I can imagine. If you could make all sorts of bespoke little things. Generally what I know with manufacturing and big manufacturing is, they'll make something and, if you don't buy it, then you've got to wait for the next one type of thing. With smaller guys, I know a couple of guys who do printers, who they've got printers. So they do smaller runs for the guy who's just started out. Instead of going to the big company, and the company says, listen, we're going to make you 100,000 labels and that's the price. This I could make 1,000, and he's really capitalizing on that. So, yeah.
the big advantage of the small sort of micro factories or makers and their 3D printer on the kitchen counter or in the garage or their lathe or their woodwork shop or their welding machine or laser cutter, whatever it is that they are normally a lot more nimble than the big guys. They can they can prototype, they can run short run production, they can chop and change quite quickly, especially and especially if somebody's like a sort of small scale production or they prototyping an idea or stuff like that.
Yeah.
And also specialist sort of applications. There's often very specialist applications where you only need a couple of hundred of something, and a guy with a small milling machine and lathe or a 3D printer can actually then produce that much more efficiently than. So that opens up another whole world of production and that's actually now it's become actually quite topical and useful in this current situation we've got.
Yeah.
But we can chat about that. Yeah.
Yeah, no. And I wanted to ask you, how did you get involved with the whole maker movement? Where do you come from?
It's the sort of this long history, as I always tell people. Is like I studied product design. I wanted to get into film, be a props master or something. Never got to do that. Made furniture for many years.
Yeah.
Worked in development for a very long time, so rural job creation, product design, development stuff. And then sort of when the maker movement sort of started sort of coalescing about 15 years ago, it sort of came across my desk as a possible tool to use in development. You know, this sort of idea of having a shared resource or facility or workshop where a bunch of people can share one or two expensive pieces of equipment and then produce a livelihood of it, you know. And we looked at that in development sort of terms and said, like, you know, actually you can create jobs that way, or you can use put up a mini factory. So I've sort of always followed the development of the whole maker idea or the shared workshop hackerspace thing as it developed. And that sort of everything came to the right point in time and space. And about 6 years ago, we decided we'll put up a big makerspace next to our studio, basically, or our studio inside a big makerspace.
Inside a big makerspace, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So then tell us more about you call it the maker station, isn't it?
Yeah. So makerspace is also sort of just a generic term for basically makerspace as hackerspaces. Hackerspaces tend to be a bit more technology orientated, you know, hardware and coding and stuff. Makerspaces generally tend to be a bit more multidisciplinary as a sort of general thing. We just called it the maker station because the original we were looking for a building, and one of the buildings was an old train station in Stellenbosch.
Cool.
That we eyeballed, and we sort of came up with a name before we had the place.
Sure, but
maker station is stuck. Yeah.
Well, that's epic. That
never happened. Yeah.
And you mentioned you've got a whole bunch of members coming through there. So, you know, what is it that you can offer them, and you know that they can come to the maker station for? You know.
Yeah. So because both my brother and I, they started this with me, sort of a little bit old school. We come from a bit of an analog background. I come from sort of a furniture background. He comes from, so we started off with a bit of an analog space. So we had lots of hardware and machinery and metal and woodworking equipment and engineering equipment and stuff when we started. But now over the years we've built it out. So now, we've got a wood shop, a metal shop. We've got a small foundry. It's part of our own studio. So we also have a bunch of tenants.
Yes.
And we also, in our own right, we've also got a studio, and we also sort of an anchor tenant of the space. Then we've added in the last couple of years laser cutting and lots of 3D printers and a couple of soldering electronic stations with all kinds of equipment around that. Spray painting. We've also got mold making station where we do, you know, cold casting and stuff like that, resin and stuff like that.
I tell you what,
sewing. couple of other things. Yeah.
I tell you what, I've got a motorbike that needs a couple of parts made out of carbon fiber.
Probably find a corner here somewhere that can cater for
Yeah, no,
that.
100%.
Yeah.
No, that's
No, it's a so yeah. We also, by the nature of it, because we've got such a diverse membership, we've got electronic engineers on the one end, and we've got chefs on the other, and we've got bikers and car mechanics, and we've got welders and 3D printers, and so the big advantage of even belonging to any of these groups, and so often draws a lot of people, is that you actually can, whatever you want to sort of do, you can actually probably find somebody that's either done it
or
or
knows
can help
exactly
you
how to
figure
do
it out or so.
Yeah.
So a big part of these spaces is the fraternity, is actually the networking and the brain picking.
Yes.
And so a lot of tools are also built to do things, So we often somebody comes with their motorbike and wants some carbon fiber fairing or something, and there might not be a tool to do it, and somebody will figure out a vacuum bag and a blah, blah, and you make it happen,
Yes. Yeah.
But also through the network, you also actually tap into the sort of what I like to call a dispersed makerspace. It's all the suppliers and other manufacturers and other people out there that knows and do stuff. So it's sort of a contact point. In a way. So that's also a big value. Yeah, because a dispersed sort of maker space out there that we all sort of consciously unconsciously tap into when we want to build stuff.
So you network between different spaces.
Yeah, so we network quite a bit between spaces and stuff, but also we also treat, from our point of view, we treat our suppliers down the road as an extension, or the guy with a laser cutting factory down the road, or bureau or 3D printing business as an extension. Because often, we as a space, we can never be all things to all people.
Yes.
There's always a bigger print or a more complicated cut or a material that we don't cater for or something like that we need to help our member with, and that might be that they need to laser cut steel or something like that. We don't have that facility, so we have
someone who does
with those outside.
That's the thing, someone who
somebody
does.
knows somebody who knows somebody.
That's the thing. That's the thing.
So and that's sort of also a big advantage of sort of the makerspace thing. That's where the fraternity and sort of like club part of it actually is. Probably 70% of it is actually that. It's because most people want to go from A to B in a project. There's a percentage of people that want to learn a new trade or new skill, or they want to. But a lot of people actually just want to. They need to find the best, the cheapest, the fastest, the most efficient way to actually build this thing or fix that thing, or and that's what the sort of fraternity or the club sort of environment like allows you to do. Tap into that.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant, though. It's almost like it reminds me of the old address book. The old A5 address book, where you go through your names and your numbers, and you go, oh wait, I know a guy who can do this type of thing, and boom, 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 boom. So it almost reminds me of that.
Or Filofax.
Yes, the Filofax.
Filofax.
Yeah, I'm not as old as that. But, I've seen them in movies.
I think I missed that. I've seen them in movies. I'll also say that. I've seen them in movies.
Oh, shit.
The kids need to whip out the thesaurus now.
Yeah, no, exactly.
And go look for that.
Having a chat about old technology and how we used to SMS each other, and and then remember that when the beepers came around, and then it was paging, and then you page your friends, But I mean, geez, and how far it's come now.
Even SMS is old school now.
Yeah, no, exactly. Who SMSs now? I still think Vodacom and MTN are wasting their time with giving you SMS bundles, because I don't think there's very many people who use them. It's all on WhatsApp now.
No, definitely, definitely.
So also, actually saw on your Facebook page that you've been promoting a specific project with the whole COVID-19 thing. Tell us more about what you're doing with that.
Yeah, so that's also, obviously that's become a bit of a runaway train for everybody.
Yeah, it's the main
And
focus in the world.
so between all the makers all over the world, for that matter, we've seen the wave coming towards us for a while, both in terms of the virus and also what other people are doing to try and protect or help or mitigate or this thing. And over the world, a lot of maker spaces and makers and innovators and engineers and small companies and stuff all started throwing their weight in to innovate or to try and stop plug holes in supply chains and stuff like that, where, especially for like PPE equipment and stuff for hospitals and all kinds of stuff. So there's been so we've sort of, as a maker community in South Africa, been watching this thing coming and sort of started nattering amongst ourselves about it a bit. And now that it's upon us, a lot of people have started sort of organizing to actually deal and see how we as a community of makers. Now, it's also very dispersed. It's not just maker spaces. We're talking about a community that lives everywhere and with resources. There's thousands of people with 3D printers in their bedrooms and garages and stuff that are now teaming up to start printing components that can go into personal protective equipment for
all the guys that are still out there, the guys that are on the front lines, yeah,
the hospitals and things like that. There's a lot of people with other equipment like laser cutters and in small engineering and all kinds of things that are now all sort of working towards trying to solve a whole range of problems. And it's right from basic personal hygiene. So we started working on that when things started happening. We started looking at, we've got relationships with makerspaces all over the world and communities. So one of our in-house projects is also a project to build little carts for the guys that do recycling, informal recyclers on the street. Homeless guys. That sort of put us into a relationship with guys in Brazil that actually, a guy called Mondano is a very well-known graffiti artist that also has a big street cart project in a community. We started talking about the problems of these people living without any access to sanitation. We all spritzing ourselves with alcohol from top to bottom every day.
And washing our hands even with soap and water.
And these guys and in any of these informal environments have got a real hard time getting hold of drinking water, never mind sanitation of any other sort. And then we're talking in informal settlements with bad services in terms of water and sanitation and stuff. So we started brainstorming a bit with Mondano and looked at in Cape Town, with the drought, somebody came up with this little bottle with a little pipe in it that you put on your basin and you squeeze it and it lets a bit of water out, enough to wash your hands. And it saves a lot of water, so you don't have a running tap. And we took that idea, basically just hung a soap on a rope on it. To make like we call it the scuttle wash.
A scuttle wash.
Guys scuttle.
Yeah.
And basically we started handing these out, and the guys in Brazil took that idea and tweaked it for their environment, because obviously there it's a bit of a different sort of landscape. So that started us with like a whole sanitation project. We then now collaborating with Africa Burn.
The festival.
So they also now obviously had to shut down the festival and everything. So we're working with them in the OBS community, with the OBS Improvement District. And with them, we're building some bigger units. So basically big 1,000-liter flow bin units that also has a basin and a little tap.
Almost
that
like
they are placing with the street communities,
Sherbet. Okay, that's brilliant.
Yeah, so there's this sort of just on the sanitation side, there's this sort of trying to put out something into the communities. They're now putting all the street people into sort of camps, basically to help manage the movement and stuff like that as part of the shutdown. But again, in those spaces, sanitation is a problem. These little informal camps that they're putting
All
up,
these
just
little,
facilities.
yeah.
So yeah, there's from that end of the spectrum, just basic, and we're also making all these designs and ideas open source. We try and share how to videos so that people can build them themselves, hand out the bottles,
Yeah.
hand out the hands and stuff, and actually do something in their communities as well. So yeah, and then on the other end of the spectrum, yeah. Sorry?
No. Carry on.
Cut you short there. Oh.
No, it's fine. Carry on.
No, I'll ramble.
Yeah, no, listen, I'm listening to you.
I'll go.
I'm learning a hell of a lot from you. I'm learning from you. So you must ramble. I'm listening. I'm all ears.
We are taking a short break to call on all makers. Maker Mania is coming to Cape Town later this year, and the call to makers is now open. Makers of all ages are welcome. Maker Mania is a 2-day public event that will take place in the Cape Town Science Centre. For more information, please go to makermania.co.za.
No, the other part of it is also now, we're looking at our community of makers. So, and all the bigger problems at hospitals and healthcare and like even SAPs and armed response companies, all these people that are still out there, still on the front line, still, the emergency services, ambulances, all these people are still in the front line, still dealing with people on the street.
The cashiers, the checkers, those guys, the cashiers,
at the retailers.
I tell you,
yeah, there's a huge demand from the retail sector for PPE gear. There is just a shortage, and the more this thing gets out of hand, the bigger the shortage is everywhere.
Exactly.
And obviously, we need to prioritize the real heroes, the doctors and nurses that really deal with the worst cases in the worst environment. And where they are really exposed to high viral loads and stuff. And these people are running out of the N95 masks and stuff because they were bought up in the panic buys and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But then, just lighter weight safety gear for everybody else, you and me and the girl behind the cashier and the guy driving the armed response car. And so there's actually a lot of need for this personal protective stuff. So a lot of the maker groups now are trying to get organized to actually try and supply out of their own little mini backyard factories, out of their bedrooms.
Yes.
And often 99% of it is out of their heart. People are doing things for free. They're spending their time, their materials, their money, trying to set up distribution chains, trying to get the stuff to the right people. So we're also trying to help to get some of that stuff organized, as a makerspace, and all the other makerspaces are doing a similar thing.
Yeah,
so there's a lot of that.
I mean, while all these makers, hopefully this is going to go wide, and it's going to talk to a lot of makers out there. I mean, these guys that while they're in lockdown, they start making stuff to help, man.
Yeah. And the thing is, the big thing is that what we're trying to now also establish is like good communication channels via the makerspaces and these groups, understand exactly what is it that the healthcare workers need. We can go and, like I say, hashtag no panic making, it's, there's also, we can't just make for the sake of making, or because we've got to sort of watch that as well. So we try and set up communication where we actually find out exactly what is it that you need. Do you need face shields, masks, ventilators? What is it? What is it that is needed now? And how can we leverage this dispersed maker space of makers and facilities to service your need? And the beauty of actually having a dispersed network of makers is that you can actually service locally. If you are in Boksburg and there's a clinic, you can actually service that rather than try and service somebody in Cape Town. So there is there's power in power in the swarm, that we actually can leverage, where we can actually make close to the need. But we sort of still working out the kinks of how to actually get that communication, because obviously there's a lot of red tape involved.
Yes.
People, we also can't sort of start manufacturing things that are actually things like ventilators are more at like the top end of medical equipment and the spectrum of things you can make from a bottle with soap hanging on a rope to then they've got to be reliable.
Yeah, they've got to work a certain way,
in the balance.
Yeah.
They've got to be reliable, they've got to be durable, they've got to be, they need to be cleaned, they need to be maintained. So it's a harder problem the further you get to that end of the spectrum of problems and products. There are people that's got the capacity, that's got the skills, got the equipment to actually work on those problems. There are engineers and engineering facilities and coders and programmers. Some are reverse engineering existing equipment, some are adapting stuff, some are coming up with new designs. Obviously, all these things need to be tested.
Yes.
Well, at the moment, we're not in the same space as Italy in terms of need for that end of. No, but the thing is that the one advantage that we have in this whole drama is that the rest of Europe and America are 2 weeks ahead, and they've done, all those makers and groups and innovators and designers and doctors have done a lot of research and development on the whole spectrum of interventions that
so
we
you could
possibly
basically
could help with.
Pick up from where and run with it. Yeah. It's not all brand spanking
Best cases, so we don't have to break new ground completely.
Yes.
There's obviously situations here that are a bit more unique than, we might have to adapt something, because either we've got different sources of material, or the application is slightly different than in a first world country. But so between all these things, the makers are trying to learn from what's been done, trying to find the holes and find out how we can plug them most efficiently, and how we can network and learn and leverage off each other. But that is there's other interventions. This is just a little sort of drop in the ocean in terms of interventions. Government's doing a lot of stuff, private sector is doing a lot, of industry is doing a lot of stuff to actually help on all these fronts. It's not just a bunch of garage mechanics trying
to fix it themselves,
to save the world.
Trying to save
the
world.
They're doing their bit,
Look, everybody, every mind is valuable, and everybody's. I was going to say everybody's mind is valuable, and if somebody can come up with an idea that the government can't, it's the more input the better. So I'm all for it.
And there's just back to the how nimble the makers are as a crowd. For instance, with 3D printing and 3D modeling, we've been given a few problems from hospitals where they are needing hacks they might have a filter A and a mask B, but they're normally not used together, but they can be used in this situation. But they need a little adapter to make that.
Yes, okay.
Now they might need that, like to plug A into B, like a little spigot or pipe or something.
Yes.
Nobody's going to tool up an injection molding plant to make 10,000 of these. We need a couple of hundred at each hospital per month or per week.
Yeah.
That's ideal for something like 3D printing, where 100 guys can each print 10 a day of a very specialized little gadget that needs to plug two things together, for instance. So there's a lot of space where the maker community can actually play like a vital role. At the moment, there's a big shortage on face shields, from what we understand. There's a lot of people being mobilized to actually make protective face shields, and on the other hand, we're hearing that a lot of the materials are running out for that. But then in the meantime, we also heard on the grapevine that there's big shipments of these shields coming in from China, which will actually relieve that problem. But
Yes.
in the meantime, the makers are filling the gap. They trying to alleviate that problem,
Pull
and they will
together and
then,
stand
move
strong and
on to the
work
next
together.
problem.
Mm.
Yeah. So yeah, the thing is, it's because they are such a nimble. It's like 10,000 mini micro businesses that can
Yeah.
all change what they're doing in a minute. You send the guy the file, and 10 minutes later, he's making another
It's making a new
thing,
one. Mm.
and a new version of the thing that you need.
Yeah.
So it's a very nimble sort of platform or production space that
Yeah.
can actually quickly switch to the need. If face shields is in ready conventional supply next week, the maker community will switch to the next problem in a heartbeat, and
Yeah.
that's the great advantage of it. And then also because it's pretty much all under, not under one roof, but under one family, and it's so diverse and multidisciplinary that a problem can move horizontally between industries very quickly.
Yeah.
And the best solution can be found to
Yeah. Pretty
produce
quickly too,
or manufacture very quickly.
especially with that network.
Yeah, because it's
No.
basically a crowdsourcing sort of environment.
Yeah. No, exactly.
Mm.
Exactly. So, Felix, how can people get involved, and how can they contact you? What are all your email addresses and
Channels.
social media, your channels, and all sorts of stuff like that?
Well, to get hold of me at the moment, we've converted one of our little website platforms into just like a landing page where we just try and get a few things together.
Yes.
It's probably as easiest to give you that. It's makerssource, makersous. I think. Oh, C. Yeah, sorry, I'm
CE.
dyslexic. My spelling sucks.
Yeah.
Makerssource.
Make a source.
Makerssource.info.
Okay.
And on there, we've posted a few how-to videos for the hand sanitizers. There's links. There's a few links to sign up either as a maker
Yeah.
into a database. There's a little form that you can fill in at this basically asks who are you, where are you, what can you do,
What can you
what
do?
do you prepare, what tools have you got. There's a little sign up form for organizations or institutions that need help, where they also pretty much it says who are you, where are you, what's your problem.
Okay.
And then we also got a little sign up form where people can sort of just sign up if they want to contribute, but they may be not the maker or something. They maybe have materials, or they want to put some cash, like pledge some cash that
Yeah.
goes into the
Donation.
pot, a donation of some
Yeah.
sorts. There's a little form that says the same sort of thing. And then there's a bunch of other links. We're slowly building, like I keep on telling everybody, with the space that we're in, we've taken a bunch of tools and a bunch of parts, we've tossed them over the cliff.
Yeah.
We've jumped over the cliff after all this stuff, and we're building a bunch of aeroplanes on the way down. So these things are all very still sort of in flux. Things are being sorted out. Things are being refined. So that's at least a landing page. From there, there's
Yes.
links. There's Facebook. There's a myriad of Facebook groups. There's a
Okay.
myriad of other WhatsApp
Okay. So
groups
there are
and so forth.
WhatsApp and Facebook
Yeah,
and all sorts of stuff. All right. Cool. And that'll all be found
yeah.
on your.
Telegram and
Okay. So
yeah,
that'll
it's
all
at
be on
least
your
a
landing
start.
page, eh?
Yeah, and we're slowly populating that with more info as we have
Yes.
time and stuff to
Then
actually
what
do
we'll
that.
do is
But yeah,
we'll take that link and we'll put that link down below. So if anybody wants to check that out and check what Felix is up to, just go to the link below and well, one of the links below, and you'll be able to get to that landing page and see exactly what he's talking about. But
yeah, I'll
Felix, I
send
must
you
say,
some more other links as well, and then you can actually add them
yeah,
to the
perfect. Yeah, send them all to me, and then
bottom.
we'll load them. We'll load them all. But I must say, it's
Stuff.
been awesome chatting to you.
No, thank you.
Yeah, it's awesome chatting to you,
Good.
and yeah, like just so much knowledge and so much You know, especially with this whole COVID-19 thing. I mean, that's awesome for me. I was like, that's very, very cool that you guys are all bound together and you're doing this thing. You know.
And also with sort of trying to rally the troops. You know, trying to rally troops around us. You know, all the other makerspaces and groups and interest groups are. But we also need, you know, like with all these things, we don't just need makers. You know, we need all kinds of skills to help plan, strategize, build websites, channel information. You know. Put media information out, share stuff. There's a lot of other skills. It's not just a maker problem, you know. And even as our efforts as makers, we need all kinds of other sort of resources and support. So when people are looking at this and they're not maybe a skilled craftsman or maker themselves, they must also
they don't need to be
their hands up, you know. There's a lot of other logistics and things that needs to be sorted out to get this stuff to makers, materials, get stuff from them, get stuff distributed, get information moving between people. So there's a lot of help needed. So people must, if anybody is interested in helping, they must contact their local makerspace or group, or you know, try and go through our channels as well. We try and connect everybody as well. And put their hand up. There's a lot of idle time, and a lot of the stuff can be done remotely. There's a lot of work that people can do from
over WhatsApp or Telegram, man.
Yep, there's a lot of comms happening there.
Yes. Okay, brilliant. Well, thank you for your time, Felix. I think we're going to call that one. We're going to call that a show. And man, we'll keep in touch, and maybe we'll do a follow-up.
Excellent. Yeah, right. No, it'll be good to maybe do a bit of a report back.
Yes. Yeah, no, 100%. See what this thing is doing.
Excellent.
Perfect.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Felix. And thank you everybody for listening. We'll put all the links below, and you can get hold of Felix and his makerspace there. And till the next one. Cheers.
Thank you for supporting our show. If you'd like to get more exposure for your business, please have a look at our sponsorship options. Also, for a small donation of 100 Rand, we will list links to your business on our website. Thanks again for supporting Maker Chats. Please follow us on YouTube and on our social media channels. Find the details and the links in the description. Cheers until next time.